I press a button marked Adrian or Veronica. The tape runs, the usual stuff spools out. The events reconfirm the emotions, resentment, a sense of injustice, relief, and vice versa. There seems no way of accessing anything else. The case is closed. Which is why you seek corroboration, even if it turns out to be contradiction. But what if, even at a late stage, your emotions relating to those long-ago events and people change? That ugly letter of mine provoked remorse in me. Veronica's account of her parents' deaths, yes, even her father's, had touched me more than I would have thought possible. I felt a new sympathy for them and her. Then, not long afterwards, I began remembering forgotten things. I don't know if there's a scientific explanation for this, to do with new affective states reopening blocked-off neural pathways. All I can say is that it happened, and that it astonished me. So anyway, and regardless of the barrister in my head, I emailed Veronica and suggested meeting again. Apologized for having done so much of the talking, wanted to hear more about her life and her family. Had to come up to London at some point in the next few weeks. Did she fancy the same time, the same place? How did people in the old days bear it when letters took so long to arrive? I suppose 3 weeks waiting for the postman then must equate to 3 days waiting for an email. How long can 3 days feel? Long enough for a full sense of reward. Veronica hadn't even deleted my heading, "Hello again," which now struck me as rather winsome. But she can't have taken offence, because she was giving me a rendezvous, a week hence, at 5 in the afternoon, at an unfamiliar tube station in North London. I found this thrilling. Who wouldn't? True, it hardly said, "Bring overnight clothes and passport," but you get to a time when life's variations seem pitifully limited. Again, my first instinct was to phone Margaret. Then I thought better of it. Anyway, Margaret doesn't like surprises. She is, someone who likes to plan things. Before we had Susie, she used to monitor her fertility cycle and suggest when it might be propitious to make love, which either set me in a state of hot anticipation or, conversely, indeed usually, had the opposite effect. Margaret would never give you a mysterious rendezvous up a distant underground line. Rather, she would meet you beneath the station clock at Paddington for a specific purpose. Not that this wasn't how I wanted to live my life at the time, you must understand. I spent a week trying to liberate new memories of Veronica, but nothing emerged. Maybe I was trying too hard, pressing on my brain. So instead I replayed what I had, the long familiar images and the recent arrivals. I held them up to the light, turning them in my fingers, trying to see if they now meant something different. I began by re-examining my younger self, as far as it's possible to do so. Of course I'd been crass and naive, we all are, but I knew not to exaggerate these characteristics, because that's just a way of praising yourself for what you've become. I tried to be objective. The version of my relationship with Veronica, the one that I'd carried down the years, was the one I'd needed at the time. The young heart betrayed, the young body toyed with, the young social being condescended to. What had old Joe Hunt answered when I knowingly claimed that history was the lies of the victors? As long as you remember that it's also the self-delusions of the defeated. Do we remember that enough when it comes to our private lives? The time deniers say 40's nothing, at 50 you're in your prime, 60's the new 40, and so on. I know this much, that there is objective time, but also subjective time, the kind you wear on the inside of your wrist, next to where the pulse lies. And this personal time, which is the true time, is measured in your relationship to memory. So when this strange thing happened, when these new memories suddenly came upon me, it was as if, for that moment, time had been placed in reverse, as if, for that moment, the river ran upstream.